Now, you're fairly new to the job. What's your vision for the Uganda Stock Exchange?
Thank you for having me. Yes, I'm new to the job, and I believe the Uganda Securities Exchange should develop enough during my time to become the barometer for the Ugandan economy, to become one of those barometers. And so we want to have a critical mass of equity listed on in the exchange, together with an amount of all the data available on the market, on the open markets, also listed on the exchange. And we are working hard to ensure that that happens.
Let's talk about the issues you've got to evaluate at the moment. The USC recently released third quarter results, and it's been found that despite an increase in equity activity within the market, there's been a decline in turnover. What do you think the problems are and the challenges that you have to handle at this moment?
Yeah, that piece of information is interesting, but it needs to be read, the lines need to be read almost separately. The third quarter is the quarter following the budget, the national budget. And so we have issues in there of maybe slow transmission of policy decisions that have been made, that we're beginning to see the impact of the policy that was decided in June on the markets now. So it's just a slow transmission mechanism that's affecting, that was affecting trading on the market. Secondly, we are coming out of a very slow period, and because prices were still low, there's a tendency, of course, for people to hold on to what they have, to ensure that they sell at a time when the prices are better. Thirdly, we had a change at the top at the exchange, and during that time, of course, it was a period of a bit of uncertainty, but we have come through that as well, and I'm firmly settled in the position now. To that extent, I think we'll see some of the activities that we've planned beginning to impact the broader market.
Right, let's chip away at issues in small blocks. Now, one of the biggest challenges experts say that you face is that of raising liquidity on the bourse and through the bourse. How are you addressing this? I know you've spoken about, for instance, transferring the system from share certificates to a securities depository account, moving into an automated system. How's that going to help?
Yeah, we're building up towards an automated system. The first block of that project is making sure that the depository works properly. We have a depository in place, and we are now immobilizing certificates into the depository, and that's going very well. The next stage is to ensure that we do clearing and settlement properly at the speed at which the electronic markets require, and that block shall be completed by January, by the end of January next year. And then on top of that, we shall then add the automated trading system. But that's not where our challenges stop. Immobilizing the shares into the depository requires then that people can come back and trade them. There's a lot of work we have to do to ensure that trading happens at the rate that we would like to see. And that's our task that we shall undertake to ensure that we succeed to build up the liquidity required.
Now, obviously, earlier on in our conversation, you mentioned the fact that there's a big need to try to promote local listings, and this speaks to raising the profile of the USE. It's interesting that you've handled some big transactions, for instance, a transaction involving Stanbic Bank, but it hasn't translated into local Ugandan entities seeing this as a vehicle for fundraising. Why is that?
There's a lot of work we have to do with Ugandan entities. A typical Ugandan entity, you find that because of the rough economic times that the country has been through, a number of companies need to be guided on international financial reporting standards. We have to guide a number of companies on governance, the kind of governance that we expect on the exchange, and systems and the kind of personnel that we would like to see on a listed company. So it depends on, because of those four factors, the readiness of a typical Ugandan company, we're still about 12 to 15 months away from that listing. But we're working with these companies to ensure that they come to market. They are really interested to come, but we have to assist them to ensure that they put all these things in place before they come to the list.
Okay, continuing on this tack, I mean, we know that in East Africa, small and medium enterprises have been the drivers of growth and job creation, and there are calls for creating an alternative trading platform for SMEs. The Johannesburg Stock Exchange, for instance, has the Altex. Other big bourses have that similar kind of trading platform. What are you doing in that regard?
We have actually created it, but we are at the moment trying to refine the rules to ensure that it is truly attractive for the small and medium. The particular aspects that we're trying to look at now relate to governance, relate to capitalization, and once we're clear about the level of capitalization that should form the small and medium, we shall come out in public with that particular window. But yes, the window is in place and the rules are almost done.
What are your views on government debt? Because we do know that there are about 33 government securities listed, that the fixed income market seems to be becoming more vibrant as governments across the East African region prioritize infrastructure spending and are now entering the market to raise capital. How dynamic is the USC in terms of trading debt?
USC has not started to trade government debt actively. There are issues on the side of infrastructure, but there are also issues on introducing government debt to the broader market. What we see as one of the tasks in market development is really to introduce government debt to the broader market. We would like to see, because of the nature of government debt or any debt, the instrument it is, it is perceived to have a lower risk and therefore should be more attractive to the broader market. We still have a challenge to bring more people, many of our people to the market to start investing, but we think they should come by way of treasury debt. Now, once we're able to bring the numbers to the market, then we should be able to acquire the liquidity that we see us needing. Second issue is that we think it's important, given the regional need to develop the government debt market, and in Kenya we have seen that market take off quite well, and we're quite satisfied with that development. And we know that if we followed the footsteps of Kenya, we should be able to develop an attractive debt market in Uganda as well. We have huge infrastructure needs, and in order to finance them, government has to step into the broader markets in order to borrow. We also believe that given the developments we have in our petroleum and oil and gas industry, we shall need a substantial injection of capital to develop our industry to the world standard. And in order to do that, government definitely will have to step in. So we think as an exchange, we are quite well positioned to help to raise this capital. We have sufficient infrastructure to raise a good amount, even as we are now. And we shall do our part to ensure that this happens.
All right, you mentioned what everybody's very excited about, and that's the fact that Uganda would become quite soon an oil-producing country. And this raises the whole question of the kinds of instruments that would be available for those entering this new sector of the economy, the kinds of products that you would be developing for this new sector. Could you just give us a sense of how you are preparing the USC for the fledgling oil industry?
We see on the earlier end the entry of major private equity players in order to build the services companies that are required to support a boom in petroleum. We also see the entry of, in the medium term, the exit of private equity and the listing of many of these companies on the Uganda Securities Exchange. And these are really the services players who are going to be supporting the major petroleum companies. And once that is in place, then we should expect, I talked about debt earlier, and debt will be primarily government to build the infrastructure, but we shall also then see, we expect to see a listing of equity from the petroleum producers themselves, so that the Ugandan public can become owners in that industry.
And a final question to you. You mentioned Kenya earlier on, and of course this speaks to the great effort at regional integration that's being undertaken by the East African community. There's lots of talk about creating an East African exchange. For the USC, what would integration mean?
It would mean a number of things. One is the creation of a regional infrastructure for trading. Secondly, the enabling of the flow of securities across the borders. I think those are the two most important. And we would like to see this happen within the next, the next maybe 2 years, to ensure that we can have securities flowing across the borders. And that will make it a truly regional securities market. It's, while I pointed out only two, I mean, the challenges are much greater. We have the currency issues to resolve. We have the payment system to enable a payment system that can pay across 5 countries. We have to work out a way to ensure that securities themselves can flow from one depository in one country to another. And these are real challenges, but we are deliberating on them. And by the middle of 2011, we should have agreed on the measures to take. We believe that market should come in to help our industrial sector to grow and our resources sectors also to grow.